Well, good morning and welcome to each one. I'd like to make you aware that council meetings are available live through Zoom, and recordings may be posted online on County of Huron's YouTube channel. You may be seen and or heard as part of these broadcasts, and your name, comments, and or presentation materials will become part of the public record. And with that, I would like to call this meeting to order. And to start off with the approval of the agenda, and just going to be an amendment to the agenda, and that is item 15, which is the bylaws. We would like to just shuffle to after the closed session. So if that's suitable to somebody, I'd be looking for a motion for the amended agenda. And that's Councillor Anderson. Councillor Basnet seconds that. Those in favor? And that is carried. Is there any pecuniary interest to declare at this time? Seeing none, then we'll move on to the minutes of the previous meetings. Is there any errors or omissions to address? And if not, I'd be looking for motion to adopt the minutes, and that is past Warden McNeil. Councillor Becker would second that. Those in favor? That is carried. We're right up to delegations, and I'd like to welcome James Scognat. He's going to be presenting to us from Bruce Power and giving us an update there. So James, welcome, and when you're ready, go ahead.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Warden, and I always appreciate the opportunity to provide an annual update to Huron County Council. We did provide some slides in advance. I'm sure over the course of the next 3 to 4 hours, you're going to be going through a lot of PowerPoint slides, so I'm not going to do a slide turn, but I'm happy to answer questions at the end of some summary points on anything you have in the package. I do want to begin before providing an update on a few key elements. I want to start with a thank you to the County of Huron for your ongoing engagement, participation, and collaboration regarding the work that Bruce Power is doing in southwestern Ontario. As many of you know, we have approximately between 500 to 700 people that work on our site every day, between our base workforce, our talented building men and women in Ontario's building trades that are leading our construction work, and all of the support services that live and call Huron County home. So Huron County is their home, and we're right in your backyard. And consistently as we go and look to grow our workforce and recruit, it's our existing 500 to 700 people from Huron County that continue to be our greatest advocates around relocating to the Tri-County region. So want to thank everything that you do for those workers who call Huron County home, and give them and their families a great life in rural Ontario. It's noticed, and I think it's a real competitive advantage for our site. So thank you. One of the key areas that I focus on every year in my update to Huron County Council is really to update people on this marathon journey that we're on. It started on January 1st of 2016, and it goes to January of 2033 regarding our long-term investment program that is really designed to renew, refurbish, and life extend the assets that we have on the Bruce Power site through to the 2070s. As I stand here today, we're halfway through that program, both from an expenditure perspective and relatively from a time point of view. It's Canada's largest private sector funded investment program in electricity. And I'm pleased to say that program is on time and on budget. And that's really important for a number of reasons. Firstly, one of our 2 largest investors in Bruce Power is actually OMER's pension plan. So many employees in your municipalities here at the county, you are owners in our company, and we take the investment of your pension dollars very seriously. And when we take those dollars, we have an obligation to spend them prudently and make sure we're delivering what we said we would, when we said we would, to the quality that we said we would. And so for those of you that are an investor, I think that's an important message. As ratepayers in Ontario of electricity, we also have an obligation through our work to deliver And our goal is to always be the low-cost producer of nuclear power in Ontario. We know affordability is a top-of-mind issue for all families across Ontario. And so while we're investing in assets in the future, we're focused as an organization to make sure that we're the low-cost provider of electricity in Ontario. We think that's important to families and businesses, and it's particularly important in the world we're faced with a lot of geopolitical dynamics around the competitiveness of Ontario. And I always like to start with that. Coming out of the winter months, I shouldn't speak too early because we may have some more winter in front of us. But one of the unique items you'll note in the slide deck that we have to balance at Bruce Power is with 8 reactors, we have a certain amount of units that are always under either refurbishment or planned maintenance work. But while we're doing that, we're also expected to produce a reliable supply of electricity in parallel. So I always like to say we're sort of walking a tightrope every day. We have units that we're investing in, and we have units that are producing. And coming out of this winter, which saw record electricity demand in the winter months, the Bruce site and many of the workers that live in your municipalities delivered very reliable generation to Ontarians through the winter months. So when it was cold and there was no wind blowing, we were able to count on the nuclear fleet to get us through those really, really cold days. Neighboring jurisdictions like Quebec, neighboring jurisdictions to the south in the United States, they relied on a lot of Ontario's output to keep their grid stable. So, we like to see ourselves as an anchor. We know that Bruce Power is not the only game in town when it comes to either the type of electricity we produce or the site. But what I always like to say is that we're trying to build the best frontline hockey team when it comes to energy in Ontario. And whether there's wind or solar or gas or hydro or you name it, we see our role as we want to be that player on the ice, that's center ice, starting line every game, that can play forward, can play defense, can help out and always be there. And that's really, really our role. There's no energy system in the world where balance is not a key component. So you'll never hear me criticize other forms of energy. It's about getting the right balance. The final thing, Mr. Warden, I'll cover, and I'd be happy to take any questions that people have, is I really want to talk about the work that we are doing as a company right now. We call it our Canadian at our Core campaign, but it's not too subtle in terms of what it's in response to. So all of us have reflected over the last year on what it means to be Canadian with some of the challenges that we're faced from a geopolitical perspective. And Bruce Power, we see ourselves as contributing to Team Ontario and Team Canada when it comes to dealing with some of the challenges we have on tariffs and economic uncertainty. So you'll see in the package us talk about the Canadian at our Core campaign. It has a few key elements that I just want to share with you. The first is a commitment that for every dollar our company spends on average, we're going to spend 95 cents in Ontario and in Canada. So as we're making these investments, that those dollars are staying at home, they're supporting Canadian workers and Canadian companies. And that's really important because as Canadians, we have a lot of strong resources and we get a lot of economic benefit that bleeds out to other jurisdictions. So we're committed to that. We're also committed, in addition to that, to bring more supply chain local to the Tri-County area. So there's a broader commitment in terms of Ontario and Canada, but we expect the people that are doing work on our site to have facilities that are located in the Tri-County area. And even though there's virtual options and opportunities like that for workers, we want people to live in the Tri-County area, raise a family in the Tri-County area, because we think that's important in terms of not only the right thing to do, but our corporate culture. You'll see focus in there on the production of life-saving medical isotopes, which is an area we continue with. You have a number of members of County Council here who are members of the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition. We appreciate that, both Glenn and Trevor in particular. But we really appreciate that support, and we have a role to play as Canadians in making sure we have that strong supply of medical isotopes. You would have seen our Prime Minister was recently in India. These countries around the world that have massive growing populations, they don't have the capability of producing life-saving medical isotopes. And that's something we can do right here from the Tri-County area in an affordable, but also a very reliable manner. So that's really our Canadian at our Core campaign. You'll see there's some other elements associated with that, but it's not lost on us the challenges that we're faced with as a country right now. And it's a time where we have to all retool and contribute to what we can, whether it's supporting Premier Ford and Minister Thompson and the Ontario government on trade missions, whether it's working with Prime Minister Carney and Minister Hodgson. It's really at a point where as a business community, we're trying to work with our elected officials as much as we can to put the best front forward for the challenges we have. So, Mr. Warden, I probably used up more than my 10 minutes, but I'll wrap it up there and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you, James, and thank you for that update on what's going on at Bruce Power, and we appreciate the work. And as politicians, we love to hear on time and on budget.
That's right.
So with that, Council, is there any comments? Councillor Basnet, please.
Through you, Mr. Warden, and thank you, James, for being here and just providing us a brief update like you did. Two things. I'm wondering if you could elaborate on some of the current news we've been received about the medical isotopes. And then the next thing I was curious is, we have 9 lower tier municipalities in this room, leadership in this room. What can we be doing today to ensure we are ready to support and benefit from the Bruce C project?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, both really good questions. So with respect to medical isotopes, we just by way of background, maybe I'll start with what a medical isotope is. Medical isotope is really another form of energy. So when you flip the switch on here, you want the light to turn on, that's electrical energy. Isotopes is really a radiological form of energy. So we use the reactors to irradiate something, and then we take that, the medical community takes that and uses it in sterilization of medical equipment, diagnostic and treatment of cancer. Modern medicine relies on isotopes. So we're the first company in the world to produce these in a power reactor, which is unheard of. And so we've now have 3 years of reliable operation. So we're building this capability out to make that supply available. We're also looking at how can we leverage this new production to do other things. And you would have seen a $250 million investment that was made into our isotope business on Friday by the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. They leveraged a loan guarantee program. We went to the private markets and found $250 million of investment backed by that. So bringing in the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation as an equity investor effectively in that is an opportunity towards reconciliation. But, you look at what we have underway across site, we're moving into isotope processing, we're expanding the capacity. It's an incredibly exciting time. In terms of the lower tier municipalities, what you can do, we were just talking about Exeter when I was getting coffee as an example. When we look at everything that is going on in the municipalities across Huron County, we view the municipalities in Huron County as incredibly progressive in terms of long-term planning, with new housing units going in, the public services that you offer people. I would say you're doing a lot of what needs to happen, right? We need this area across Grey Bruce and Huron to be an area that people want to live, raise a family. We have people that drive from Exeter every day to site. I mean, it seems like geographically a long distance, but that can be the equivalent of driving 20 kilometers in the GTA with traffic. So even though we have geographic spreads, a lot of people want to relocate to this neck of the woods for a whole bunch of lifestyle reasons. And we see it. We see, if you had asked me a few years ago, Trevor, we would probably have been in the 200 to 300 range of people in Huron County that work on site. It's more than double that now. So you're doing those right things. And I also think that what I notice with Huron County is the unity at the county level. Anytime I engage with Team Huron County, it comes across as a business person as Huron County I'm dealing with. It's not one community competing against another. And that culture, when you're a business working with municipal or county government, is so important. So kudos to this leadership team for that.
Thank you, James. Anything else? Past Warden McNeil, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warden. And James, thank you very much for your leadership, not only of Bruce Power, however, for the benefit of society. And it is very, very valuable. You're tremendously capable. And thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Great. Well, thank you very much for sorry.
Yep. No, thank you, James.
You got to get that agenda moving.
I do. And I was just going to ask for a motion to receive your report. So Past Warden Ginn and Councillor Basnet, those in favor, that is carried. Thank you so much for having me. Joining us.
Take care.
So we have a delegation, and Dave Hannum is here to present, and he's going to be giving us an update on the lot addition application on Blythe Road. So Dave, when you're ready, go ahead.
Morning, Warden. Members of Council, my name's Dave Hannum. I'm a registered professional planner and partner with Zelenka Priamo. I'm here with my proponent, Reuben Smith, who's in the gallery. Reuben is a local businessman and builder and has deep family ties to the area and the subject lands, which include his father-in-law, who is farms extensively within the county. He also farms a portion, the rear portion of the subject lands, and will continue to do so as well. Obviously, our client is disappointed with regards to the recommendation with planning staff to deny the application. That's contrary. It's a disconnect with regards to the approvals that we and the support we've received through ACW Council. We're hopeful of a positive endorsement by this council today. I've prepared a short presentation. I'm just going to take less than 10 minutes to go through that and just give you my thoughts with regards to the application. So if we could have the next slide, please. So I'm sure you are fully aware of where the subject lands are. They're located on the north side of Blythe Road, east of Blue Water, where there's a small collection of existing residential properties. The subject lands are unique in its character because the 8 lots that front onto Blythe Road and the lot to the rear were legally formed through a historic plan of subdivision. It's my understanding that the previous owners originally planted the trees on the 8 lots at the front to ultimately provide privacy for those residential lots as they came through, and they've matured through the course of time. The majority of those are white spruce plantation trees. In terms of the application that we're before us at this point in time, it really circles around those 3 yellow circles, which were originally earmarked as the 66-foot wide streets that would serve the subdivision to the rear. So if I could have the next slide, please. So as part of the application, I just want to emphasize that there's no new lots being created here. Effectively, what we're looking to do is lot additions and redistribute the land that was associated with those remnant parcels that we're going to provide the municipal streets. So as per the color codings there, they're going to be distributed effectively amongst 4 of the lots, with the easterly portion, which is identified in yellow, would provide for an access through to the agricultural holdings at the rear that would still continue to be farmed. Next slide, please. So there's a bit of history to this site. There was a rezoning application that was provisionally approved by ACW back in November. The proposed zoning created site-specific zoning that permitted 8 residential lots. It also created the access point to the agricultural lands to the rear. The requested lot adjustments that we're seeking through these consents were clearly identified within the materials that we submitted with the rezoning application, and the approved and implementing zoning bylaw effectively reflected the lot fabric that we're proposing now in terms of minimum lot area frontage and also minimum landscaped areas to be retained as well. Further, as part of an initial step within this process, ACW reviewed the consent applications and supported and recommended approval of those applications subject to the recommended conditions. Next slide, please. So there's been a very thorough review of the associated materials that were submitted through the rezoning and the same materials that were submitted with this consent application as well. As you can see on the screen there, we provided a nitrate study, an environmental impact assessment, and archaeological assessment amongst many of the reports. They were all peer reviewed by independent experts. Ultimately, all of the reports that we provided were deemed to be satisfactory. Included within that also was MDS analysis to confirm that there was no impact on surrounding agricultural holdings. The zoning did not request any relief from any minimum setbacks. As part of the configuration of the lots, we consolidated access points onto the county road to minimize any potential safety concerns. Also, County Council has also approved a reduction in the speed limit that fronts along this section of Blythe Road too. And then with regards to MTO, this is outside their regulatory area, so they're not impacted. There's no permits required with respect to that either. Next slide, please. So I just want to touch on the planning policy. Based on my review of the staff report, planning staff's position continues to be the development proposes non-agricultural uses and lands located within the prime ag area. My take with regards to the relevant policy framework is that the guiding principle here is to ensure that effectively that the protection of viable farmland and associated agricultural operations are protected. In my professional opinion, I believe that this proposal meets those principles. So I've outlined a number of reasons why. They include that there's not going to be a significant loss of agricultural land. There's a strip of about half an acre behind the residential lots that would be converted from farmland through to the actual lots themselves. There's no actual active agricultural or farming operations going on in the front 8 lots with regards to that, and the rear 30 acres is going to be maintained and continued to be farmed as well. And as I indicated, the MDS calculations confirm that there's no impact on surrounding agricultural operations, and we haven't received any objections from any surrounding neighbours with respect to that as well. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to conclude, obviously it's our professional opinion that the current consent application should be approved. Given the unique sort of context and nature of these subject lands, we feel as though there's no undesirable precedent that would be set by approving that. That was obviously concurred with through ACW supporting the applications as well. Obviously, it's going to result in 8 existing lots being implemented for single-family homes. That would increase housing within this part of the area. And then, as I indicated, the technical materials that was submitted confirm that there's no impact on agricultural operations. That effectively the surrounding road network will be maintained, and also the natural heritage value of the existing vegetation is going to be maintained and actually enhanced. I just wanted to pick up, there's some recommended conditions within the agenda package as well. I wanted to pick up on a couple of those. One was with regards to condition 8, lot grading, and one was regarding lot 9, which is a tree protection plan. So the lot grading, typically we would look to try and defer the requirement for a lot grading plan until building permit stage, when we actually know what the house designs are going to be like. But our engineers have confirmed that they can prepare, as part of this, to clear the condition, a master grading plan, which would look at the grades of the site, whether there's any culverts required on the property, and then when the individual building permits came forward for the individual houses, and that could be cross-referenced to make sure that the grading works. With regards to the tree protection, our clients' ecologists have visited the site. They've taken their tree inventory and they've drafted a tree protection plan. As I indicated, about 10% of the trees would be removed. 95% of those are not native. They're white spruce. And then also each lot's subject to a minimum landscaped open space area that would, in some instances, it's 50% of that lot would need to be retained. So the tree protection component is going to be, it's been thoroughly reviewed and looked at, and our experts have, and the county's experts believe that it's going to actually result in an enhancement to the ecological value of the site as well. So that's sort of the end of my presentation. I I would respectfully request that this county concur with ACW Council and approve the applications subject to the recommended conditions. I'm happy to answer any questions now or at the appropriate time. Thank you.
So thank you, Dave. And we are going to be dealing with this application a little later in the agenda. If there's any specific questions related to what was just presented, council may ask that now. And if not, I'd be looking for a motion to receive this report. So Councillor Klopp, Councillor Heffer seconding that. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Going to move on to councillors' comments. And seeing none, then there is, oh, sorry, Councillor Vanstone, go ahead.
Yes, I don't know if this is the right place to do it, but I'd like to thank Alvin McClellan's wife for the cookies. Thank you very much.
That is a perfect place to do it. And Alvin, pass our thanks along to Pam for the cookies she provided for us today. Someone asked me what I'm going to bring, and I'm not sure what I'm going to bake for one of the meetings, but we'll figure it out. Consent agenda. Was there anything anybody wanted to pull from that? Then if not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda. And that's Councillor Harding and Councillor McClellan. Those in favor, that is carried. And we are at planning on the agenda. And Shay Stoll, welcome Shay. And Shay is going to be looking at consent application C63. When you're ready, Shay, go ahead.
Morning, Warden and members of County Council. So this will be a brief presentation on consent application C63 2025. The subject property is located at 80266 Maple Line in Huron East. And the applicant is John McKercher for Cronin Farms Limited. So just an aerial photo of the subject property just to orient ourselves. So we're located just a few concessions east of Seaforth in Huron East. And the purpose of this application today is to create a new lot under the surplus farm severance policies, as well as for the creation of 3 new agricultural parcels under the agricultural severance policies. I'll go into more detail of what that looks like on this slide here. So the proposed surplus farm lot is labeled here in red, or outlined in red and labeled as retained parcel number 1. It is approximately 1.8 acres in size. The severed parcel in this case is outlined in blue on the screen here and is approximately 96 acres of agricultural land. And then the second retained parcel, retained 2 on the screen here, outlined in yellow, is approximately 98 acres of agricultural land. And lastly, the third retained parcel proposed, outlined in green here, is approximately 46 acres of agricultural land. Just a little bit of a closer look at the proposed residential farm lot, which consists of an existing house and shed used for storage. And I will note just south of the proposed new lot line, you will notice there's an existing barn on the screen. This barn is in the process of being removed and is also addressed as a suggested condition for approval to comply with MDS requirements. So just a couple photos here of the subject property. So photos here are of the retained number 1 parcel, which is the surplus residential lot. On the left image is the existing residence and the existing shed, and then the image on the right shows the barn in process of being removed. And then I've got an image here of the proposed retained parcel number 2. So retained parcel number 2 is the left-hand side of the image, and then the severed parcel surrounding the surplus residence is on the right-hand side. And then lastly here, I've just got a Google Street View image of the retained 3 parcel. So this would be looking northeast from Maple Line. Along the left-hand side would be the existing residence. In terms of comments received on this application, we did receive one objection from a neighboring property owner. The neighbor raised concerns questioning the reasoning for the application and future plans for the properties once the severance, or if the severance is approved, as well as voiced concerns with potential implications to neighboring farming operations related to MDS and the like. And lastly, they noted some concerns related to a past energy-related use proposed on the property. So I've had discussions with the neighboring property owner just to clarify and provide context for the policy context related to the application. And the applicant also provided some follow-up responses, which have been attached to the council materials. Clarification included that the intention of the application is to provide some flexibility for future succession planning for the farm operation. The proposal does not create any new MDS impacts other than that the new proposed residential lot, the surplus severance, would create new MDS implications for the severed and 2 retained parcels for the applicant themselves. And further, the applicant clarified that the application is not related to any past energy-related use and that it's not part of this proposal. Huron East staff did request a minor adjustment to the north lot lines proposed for the retained number 1 parcel, just to ensure that setbacks to the existing setback and the new property lines are met. So we've made that minor adjustment. ABCA had no concerns with the proposed severance, but did note that a couple of the retained lots are within their regulated area and may require permits for any future development. And Huron East Council recommended approval of the application at their council meeting back in January. Right. Getting into a little bit of the policy review. So the subject lands are zoned AG1 and NE2 in the Huron East zoning bylaw and are designated agriculture and natural environment in the Huron East official plan. So as I mentioned, the application here is subject to both the surplus severance policies as well as the agricultural lot creation policies. Retained parcel number 1 proposes a new lot under the surplus severance policies and meets all of the criteria for a farm dwelling severance listed in the county and Huron East official plans. As I noted, the existing barn is proposed to be removed to comply with the MDS setback requirements to the new residential lot. And this is addressed as a suggested condition of approval. The PPS does require that where surplus farm severances are permitted, new residential construction is on the remaining farmland is be prohibited, which is addressed through the automatic rezoning to an AG2 zone. In this case, we've suggested that the AG2 zone just apply to only the severed farm parcel, which would be the 100 acres, approximately 100 acres surrounding the residence. This is consistent with the county's practice to restrict to residents on surplus applications. And then retained parcels number 2 and number 3 propose new agricultural lots under the agricultural severance policies. Both parcels meet the official plan criteria from the county and Huron East official plan for an agricultural severance, and there are no proposed changes to either existing operations. I will just note that while retained parcel number 3, so the 46-acre parcel towards the south, does not meet the minimum area of 20 hectares listed in the Huron East official plan. However, the official plan does provide policy for minor interpretation of numerical figures where the intent of the policy is met. In this case, the entirety of the 18.75 hectares consists of croppable land. Therefore, it's reasonable to interpret this as meeting the intent of that policy. So as a result of the review here, it's recommended that application C63 2025 be recommended for approval with the attached conditions. And I'm here for any questions on that. Thank you.
So thank you for the information, Shay. And we are now going to enter the part of the meeting where members of the public can make comments. And anyone that wishes to speak can do so using the raised hand feature if you're joining us virtually. And in person, of course, you can raise your hand and be acknowledged here. So I'm going to start. If anyone wishes to speak in opposition to this application, and I'm going to refer to Clerk Cronin. Are you aware of anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
I see no one that wishes to speak in opposition of this application at this time.
And is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? And
I see no one wishing to speak in favor of this application at this time.
And the applicant, John McKercher, is with us. And John, are you wishing to speak to the application?
Thank you, members of council. Just some clarification on the application, and thank you, Shay, for your excellent presentation. We're attempting to do through one application, which we actually can do through 3 applications to be more efficient for the client. Under the official plan, it gives the ability to sever the parcels. Firstly, the easterly parcel can be severed off. Then the 100 acres can be severed off the westerly parcel to create 3 parcels. And then the application for the surplus residence can be done. So what we're trying to do is do it a bit more efficiently and do it as one application. The goal, the only true intent at this time is to transfer the residential portion to a family member. They want to do improvements to the house and make it into a place for their family. And we thought it was a creative opportunity to recreate the original lot lines. The parcel to the south, which is the 46 and a half acre parcel, 18 and a half hectares, is an existing PIN. Just through past conveyances, it's merged on title. It's a separate roll number. It's a separate PIN. To the outside observer, it would appear to be a separate parcel already, but just through virtue of the Planning Act, it is merged. Lot 15 Concession 2 and Lot 14 Concession 2, once again, 200 acre parcels, over 40 hectares. They merged through previous conveyances as well. So all we're really doing is recreating the original lot lines that have existed, and then doing the surplus residence severance. So I'd welcome any questions from council or on this.
Okay. Any questions at this time for the applicant? Past Warden McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. John, I think you heard me raise this at the end of the discussion at here, and you certainly had no problem with the application as it stands. Instead of AG1, if the lots could be AG2, and my concern for that is that those lots being rezoned as AG1, then someone can actually now go out and get a house building permit for each of those other lots. And then if they were to sell that property, then we would have another surplus severance down the road and another residential house in the farm area using up farmland. If we were to rezone them as AG2, the application as requested could go through complete. It would just prevent houses being built in the rural area on farmland. Would that be objective to the applicant?
Thank you, Mayor McClellan, for the question. Once again, through the official plan of Huron East, this can be done in 3 severances without that requirement. So once again, we could sever through the official plan the westerly lot first, and then sever the southerly parcel and leave with the northerly parcel, like the 100 acres, and then sever the surplus residence, and that wouldn't be a question. So I think the clients don't want that. There's no intent to build on that. There's already policies in place to govern those things. There's length of time for houses to be built that they aren't then surplus. So I don't think the clients do want to go down that road because there are policies in place to already protect that. So.
Okay. Any other questions from council? All right. John, thank you for that information. And now I'm going to go to Huron East councillors if you wanted to add anything to this presentation.
No, like as I stated, Huron East Council was in favor of the application as it was presented. The only thing I raised at the end was the concern that new housing could be built in the rural area that is not there now, which technically down the road could be severed off. And in fact, although the applicants have stated the fact that it could be done and there's time frames to prevent those severances from happening, we at the county staff here have already discussed the fact that we maybe need to shorten some of those time frames. So it's still a concern for me. I don't have a problem with the application. And John, in his meaningful way, did a good job as a politician without really answering the question fully. But I guess my only concern is that if we could put a condition in that it be AG2, it would just prevent extra houses being built in the rural area. That's all.
Okay. And Councillor McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you, probably to my mayor, as I tried to remind him that tax dollars come from the rural areas. So if we can provide areas that houses can be built without causing harm to neighboring farms, I think that's a good thing.
Okay. And now I'm going to go to council for comments. So Councillor Harding and then past Warden Ginn.
My question's a very simple one. Does MDS look after this? I don't mind building in the country if we're in cash crop land or whatever, but our MDS, will it save us from a big pig barn or something being?
I'm going to turn to Shay first to address that.
Thank you. So yes, MDS would provide buffer setbacks for new livestock barns in proximity to the existing residences in the area. So the new proposed residential lot with this application does pose a new receptor for a MDS setback that would apply to the newly severed parcels on this, as well as the existing residences in the area.
And John, did you as the applicant want to respond to that?
Yes, the location of the surplus residence severance would likely not have significant impact on the northerly portion because MDS would apply. But when you create a surplus residence, it does create a receptor for MDS for barn building on all surrounding on the existing property. That's already in effect for neighboring properties that aren't subject to the application. So that house is already a receptor to neighboring adjacent properties already. So the only property it really impacts is the retained farm parcel. If that makes sense to you? Yeah.
Okay. Past Warden Ginn.
Yeah, just in response to Councillor McClellan, I've always thought depopulation of the countryside is a bigger issue than building a few houses. We went through this as far as servicing, whether it be natural gas, internet, or even hydro. We have a situation in my municipality where hydro is an issue in getting servicing. So I don't mind houses in the countryside. I think there's a community that lives out there. We don't all live in town. So that's not a concern of mine whatsoever.
Okay. Any other comments from council? I'm not seeing any other comments. Then what is council's wish on this application? There is a prepared motion to approve. Is there someone willing? So that's past Warden Ginn and seconded by past Warden McNeil. Those in favor? And that is carried. And Shay, do you have a follow-up motion that would be required of us now?
Yes. Thank you. So in terms of public and agency comments, I'm recommending 5A and 3B.
5A and 3B. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Dietrich and Councillor Vanstone. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you, Shay. And next, Megan is joining us from planning, and you're going to be looking at another consent application. So Megan, once you're ready, you go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, Warden and members of County Council. I will keep my presentation brief because Dave Hannum did a great job presenting the history of the project, and I'm also battling a cold. So the property is at 34696 Blythe Road. And just to give you some context, it is just north of Goderich and east of Highway 21. And here we have a zoomed in aerial image. So ACW Council did receive a corresponding rezoning application for the lands. It has received first and second readings, so it's a provisional approval on these consent applications. And part of that application was received to recognize the smaller permitted lot sizes than what's permitted in our zoning bylaw. So the resulting severance applications would sever and acknowledge those lot sizes that were brought forward. And here we have the same diagram that Dave brought up. So it is proposed that a portion will be severed and merged with Lot 1, and then the center agricultural area would be severed in half and merged with Lot 4 and Lot 5. And then another section would be severed and merged with Lot 8, and with that yellow area being retained for the access to the agricultural farmland in the rear. So as part of the circulation, we did not have any public comments on this one. Huron County Public Works Department did comment on the entrance permits, so there will be entrance permits required onto County Road 25. The ACW Building Department continues to be concerned with the grading and drainage and not having information reviewed at the planning stage. Huron County Federation of Agriculture did provide comments here. I did quote them, but they were not supportive of the residential lot creation in agricultural areas and the rate of agricultural land being lost at 319 acres per day. And this application adds to these numbers. So as part of the planning review, applications for severances are required to have regard for provincial interests as outlined in the Planning Act, be consistent with the PPS, and conform to the county official plan as well as ACW's official plan, and represent good planning and be in the public interest. So the proposal seeks to introduce non-farm residential development in prime agricultural area, which conflicts with key provincial interests, particularly the protection of agricultural land, the orderly development of communities, and the appropriate location of growth. Under the PPS, settlement areas are intended to be the focus of residential development, and permitted uses in prime agricultural areas are limited to agriculture and agriculture-related uses. Non-farm residential development isn't permitted, and this proposal doesn't align with the provincial policy for long-term protection. The Huron County official plan directs residential development to designated settlement areas and seeks to prevent scattered residential uses in our agricultural areas. Similarly, the ACW official plan prioritizes agriculture as the primary land use and limits non-farm development in agricultural areas, and it raises concerns regarding MDS separation for future expansion. So I have provided additional recommended conditions to be included with the application. A lot grading and drainage plan shall be provided to the satisfaction of the county and the township. A tree inventory and preservation plan and a restoration plan shall be completed to the satisfaction of the township. And that tree inventory and preservation plan shall be registered on title for lots 1 to 8. And that's additional conditions than the normal ones that we have for your consideration today. So it is recommended that the County of Huron deny consent applications C64 to C67 on the basis that it doesn't comply with provincial, county, or local policy and is introducing farm-related uses to the prime agricultural area. Thank you.
Thank you for the information, Megan. And we are now going to enter into the part of the meeting where members of the public can make comments regarding this application. And again, if you wish to do so, if you just raise your hand, both in person and if you're joining us virtually. And Clerk Cronin, I'm going to ask if you are aware of anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application.
I see no one that's interested in speaking in opposition of this application at this time.
And are you aware of anybody wishing to speak in favor of this opposition application?
I see no one interested in speaking in favor of this application at this time.
And the applicants are with us, and you did share with us earlier in the meeting. Is there anything you wanted to add at this time? And I'm going to turn it to the councillors from ACW if there's anything you would like to add at this time. And starting with past Warden McNeil and then Councillor Vanstone.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Warden. These lots were legally created over 50 years ago. The speed limit has been reduced in October of 2025. The trees that were planted by the previous owner were done so that there would be mature trees when development was built. We have a developer that is proposing to build homes on these lots, and we consistently hear from the province we need more homes. And so in that regard, ACW Council resoundingly support this application. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Vanstone.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. And Glenn hit on a lot of good points. And I've said this before, is that I feel sorry for the planning department because they're marching to the beat of the Ontario government, not to the local people who really see what's going on in the community. And these lots have been there for a long time. They got transferred through mistake because of the trees. They turned into natural environment, which has happened to a lot of people in the different parts of the country. So it's only a good fix, and it's a good thing for ACW. Every time we can get some lots that aren't affecting anybody, they're talking about the MDS. There's already 3 or 4 new homes around that area. So we're not affecting anybody in the MDS, and it's just a good fix for ACW. So I hope that the council will support us in our endeavor. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, I will go to council for comments from council. Past Warden Ginn.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, historically, these are legal lots. I don't know how we legally can stop this, but I just wanted to comment that I realize these would not be permitted by the rules of today. I would suggest none of our villages and towns would be approved by the rules of today. So we can't change history. These lots are legal. I think we have to approve it.
Councillor Klopp.
Thank you. If I understand it right, when we hear about 319 acres, we all understand that and we're concerned. But it's my understanding when land is changed from agriculture to potential other changes, then that is when it is registered in Toronto as land taken out of agriculture. That's been my understanding of it. So this chunk of ground here, it would have been officially done in 1974. It would have been already part of that 319 acres or whatever it is, because it was to a point given. It was assumed it was going to be houses at some point or some kind of buildings. you know, I'm a history buff. I did not know there was actually a village. If you look Millburn, if things would have transpired, we would have had quite a little village there, period, right now. So it almost would be mute what we're talking about. That's maybe a good or bad, maybe that's a sad thing about how we got, how we go. But anyway, no surprise to me, ACW is there. They've come to a conclusion it's supportive, and I support it.
Councillor Basnet, please.
Through you, Mr. Warden, and Councillor Vanstone hit the nail on the head in regarding the planning. I feel sorry for you as well. We have a lot of these common, past Warden McNeil also with his comments regarding, we hear it every day that we need housing. And what this is going to do is provide people with housing, good housing, that will help our local economy. So I am also in support of this.
All right. Not seeing any more hands, so I'm going to ask council what your wish is on this application. There is a recommended motion in our package, and if that's not suitable, I'd be looking for another motion. Councillor Vanstone, please.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this application for the 8 lots.
Okay, so a motion is put forward to approve. Past Warden Ginn is seconding that motion. Any further discussion? Those in favor of a motion for approval, and that is carried. And Megan, would you have a follow-up motion for us to address?
So the effective public and agency comment is 2A and 5B.
All right, is there someone willing to put that forward? Councillor Becker, Councillor Anderson, those in favor. And that is carried. So Megan, thank you for your time, and thank the applicants for coming and joining us today as well. Cultural services, engaging students in plans and strategies, and Beth is available for questions if council would have questions on this. And if not, I'd be looking for a motion to receive this report. That's Councillor Finch, second by Councillor Noel. Those in favor, that is carried. And on number 11, appointment of councillors for approval of expense forms. And our clerk, Susan, is going to speak to this.
Through you, Warden. I am very excited to say that this is the final piece for our review of our procedural bylaw, remuneration bylaw, and our travel guideline. What I'm asking is 2 members of council that will assist in the review of expense forms. The warden and one of the councillors will review all of councillors' expense forms. The 2 councillors that are appointed will be reviewing the warden's expense forms. Sorry about that.
All right. Straightforward. I'm just looking for a motion for a couple of names to fill those positions. Councillor Hever.
Yes, thank you, Warden. I'd ask Councillor McClellan and Councillor Goderich, they put their names forward. Thank you.
So are you interested in that position? Okay, so if that's the case, is there a seconder for that appointment? That's Councillor Finch would second that. Yep, and a question, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Warden, I don't think this is going to take a lot of time to do these reviews. Could this be done on the day of a county council or something like that, so there's not an extra trip in meeting?
And that's the process we follow now. Yep. Okay. Those in favor? That is carried. Strategic priorities chart, and Megan is available for questions if there's any there. And seeing no questions, and a motion to receive that report. Councillor Heffer, Councillor Vanstone, those in favor? That is carried. Additional funding options for public works, and Mike is going to speak to this. And Mike, go ahead when you're ready.
Through yourself, Warden. So Sorry, I was just about ready to move to the front there, but I will do that. Actually, I'll move down when we get to the chart. So we'll just do the two reports from here, and then we'll move down. The report before you is just for information. It's not something that I'm recommending. I've kind of beat this subject to death in terms of infrastructure funding, so I'm not going to get into that, but it's definitely not something that I would recommend just for budget pressures. But the information is there. There's 4 projects that we could apply some additional funding against, whether that's gas tax or OSIF. Both are available. So the 4 projects are listed there. And just for council's awareness, 1% reduction on the levy is 554,000. So if we're looking at applying some of this funding, just keep those percentages in mind, and I'll just leave it at that. So.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Is there anything from council on this? Seeing no hands, then I will ask, is there someone willing to receive this report? So that's Councillor Klopp. Councillor Goderich is seconding that. Those in favor? That is carried. And Michael, again, the Clean Water Project.
Through yourself, Warden. So again, this is just for information. There was a question asked how much would be available in the Clean Water Project Reserve. And based on the outstanding commitments and the estimated reserve balance, there would be a current surplus of about 620,000.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And is there anything on this? Councillor Klopp, please.
I will move for information and a comment if it's seconded.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? That's Councillor Basnet.
As a comment, it does make a lot more sense now how maybe it was 900,000, because there was general discussion that when we first heard it, and us as councillors, it's our problem if we didn't pick up on it. There was a disappointment. Well, there's fluency, and I appreciate, and it does how it worked, and I do understand a lot more now about it, and that's a good thing. But I also think the staff were doing the right thing in how they were putting it in a reserve, because it was fluid.
Okay, anything else regarding the clean water? I'm not seeing any hands. Then that motion, I'm going to call the question. Those in favor? And that is carried. And Mike, are you going to move up to the hot seat right now? And once you're set up, Mike, then go ahead with the budget adjustment chart.
Okay, through yourself, Warden. Just want to just go over where we're at with council based on the votes that were made at our last meeting, and what is outstanding to be discussed for today. So basically, everything that was voted on, if it was voted to remain in budget, it's gone. It's out of the chart. It's not here anymore. If it was voted to have or be adjusted from the levy, then it remains as a budget reduction or budget option. So with those changes, cumulative impact. So right now we stand at a 7.25% increase on the levy, which would equate to a 5.56% increase on the tax rate. So again, there's that growth assessment growth, which is showing to or proving to be beneficial in terms of tax rate adjustment versus levy. So that's about 1.69% growth factor there. So depending on what your final targets are and what council is comfortable with, whether you look at levy increases or tax rate increases, that's up, I guess, for discussion. But that's where we are now in terms of what's been voted on, and outstanding would be the 13 non-union staff positions that are listed there. I did make a small adjustment to that number in terms of the potential savings, because there are additional costs we'd have to add back in. It's just there's some required functions that we would have to provide for some consulting costs and whatnot for. So those were added back in, and I just rounded it to 1.5 million. So that is for council's consideration.
All right, for council's consideration, Councillor Finch, please.
Yeah, thank you. It's you, the warden. Michael, just wondering on the PW consulting project, County Road 83, what was the scope of that project? Was it to investigate other intersections, et cetera? Am I correct on that? Do you recall?
CAO work, please.
Yes, through you, Mr. Warden, that was the intention of that work, yes.
Okay, thank you. If I may, Warden, I know Councillor Becker is going to speak to this as well, but I know with regards to our intersections on the 83 highway, on February 18th at our last council meeting, it was decided to remove that $60,000 to investigate those intersections. But 5 days later, on February 23rd at 12:35 in the afternoon, a serious collision took place at the intersection of Huron Line and Thames Road. Councillor Becker can maybe relate more to it. He was at that collision. 2 people received minor injuries. Another person received serious injuries. So I'm wondering if perhaps we could have that kept in the budget to investigate those intersections to prepare the next council. And I'm just wondering if Councillor Becker would like to speak to it as well.
Councillor Becker, were you prepared to do that?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. This intersection has been noted dangerous for a number of years also, and 2 young ladies forgot to stop again and got T-boned. I don't know. We responded. How they survived the crash because they ended up out in the field. Both vehicles were completely totaled. And I know our public works have enhanced the different stop signs and the stop ahead signs, but seeing the traffic that flows on Huron Line coming from the north or going north, we've had numerous accidents there. We got to have some money spent to enhance this for safety down the road for our public. Thank you.
Okay. Other comments from council? Councillor Finch again, please.
Thank you, through the warden. So yes, as we can see, these intersections are very dangerous. This is on February this happened, and we're now into March, of course. We haven't even seen our busy season. I'm just looking to maybe staff could provide some direction. Perhaps we need a report or what we need to do to keep this fluid, because even with the improvements of that intersection at Huron Line and Thames Road, these collisions are going to happen. And we as council members have to make sure that we're using due diligence and being responsible to make sure that the next council next year is going to be prepared for what decisions they're going to have to be making. So perhaps staff could give us some direction on this, or how we proceed to make sure this consulting stays in the budget.
CAO work, please.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. Fundamentally, us taking this out of the budget means that if there is a request that comes forward from County Council in relation to that intersection, the report, and there was a mover and seconder from Council to act on it, the report that would come back would request that Council approve the funding for the project separate from the budget, because it has been pulled from the budget. So if there is the consideration that we include it in at this juncture, we would require a 2/3 majority of council to revisit that decision. If, on the other hand, there is the request that this is considered outside the parameters of the budget, and for us to include it separate from the budget, because I anticipate, because we've pulled so many consulting dollars from the budget in 2026, these are the kinds of discussions we are going to have with council on an ongoing basis for particular issues that come up. Then It will just mean it will take a little bit longer for that work to be completed because we won't automatically have the resources in order to be able to do it.
Thank you, CAO Work. Past Warden Ginn.
Just to be clear, Huron line and 83, is that the intersection that the weather radar is at? And again, that's a flat 90-degree intersection there. And so many hundreds of intersections do we have that are flat and 90 degrees? And I don't know that we can do studies on all of them. If people blow through stop signs, I don't know what we as a county can really do about it. We just have so many intersections like that. And nobody wants to see accidents, but there's really no reason for accidents on an intersection like that.
Okay. Other councilors? Councillor Finch, new information?
The fact that there's, and I go back to my policing career, we used to get complaints there all the time about people going through that intersection, near misses, et cetera. I investigated dozens of accidents there over the years. It's not getting any better. And as Imran had said at the one council meeting, you base the fact that the traffic counts are just going to increase continuously, therefore the risks continue as well. Why they're going through the intersection? It's sometimes intentiveness, whatever it may be, or deliberate. But regardless, we do have a responsibility to protect the public. And if it means having a consultant look at that intersection or other intersections, it's a small cost to pay to see if we're doing everything we can reasonably in the circumstances to make sure that the public is safe. So I would move that we should be getting a report at least back from staff as to what could be done, because we have had improvements at that intersection, but it's still not working. So are we missing something, I guess is the question. Do we need an expert intervention to find out? If we do, then that's something that would be reasonable and prudent on us to make sure we do. My comments.
So that is put forward as a motion for a staff report. Would there be a seconder for that motion? Councillor Becker would second that motion. So I'm going to, any further discussion? Councillor Klopp?
Just, I think I heard the answer, but to be clear how I vote, this has nothing to do with this budget. Correct? We all understand that as I'm voting? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Those in favor of that motion, hands up clearly. 2, 6. That motion is defeated. All right. Now that everybody's awake, we can get back to Michael's chart. Any other questions from council? Councillor Klopp, please.
In spite of that, I'll take a chance and ask a question. The report says the motion is presented for information. What does that mean when we, if that motion carries? What does that mean for the budget process?
Go ahead, Megan.
As it stands now, so again, we put motions in the budget so that we're not leading council in any particular direction. As it stands now, there would be no further action on the budget. We wouldn't be approving a budget. The information is in front of county council for information purposes. If council wishes to continue the conversation in relation to the budget, there is one outstanding issue that needs to be addressed, and that is the 13 non-union staff positions. And subsequent to that, at some point, what we are looking for as a staff is a motion in relation to the percentage levy that council's looking for us to draft a bylaw to come back to approve the budget. At this point, we don't really have that. We don't have enough information from council or the confidence to be able to put that in front of you as a finished product in terms of the budget. So we would hope for there to be a little more discussion today. Again, that's up for council to come up with that conversation today and determine whether or not that is suitable.
Councillor Klopp.
So we have a close to public session, correct, today? Correct?
We do, but the reason for that closed session is listed in the agenda. It is not the non-union positions, if that's what you're asking. We're going in for an ONA discussion.
Okay, thank
There is
you.
the option, if you were interested in amending that, we can certainly do that. It's entirely up to council.
Okay, and when it says here 13, as in the original binder, page 11, if I read it right, I add up to 15 positions. Now it's 13, so I must assume that something happened there. As we all know, there was in camera, and I'm being careful with my words, and there was directions given. So based on that, if I would vote for this motion, then what I'm hearing is that that we're at a 7% budget, and that's the end of the day. That's what I'm hearing, and I just that just doesn't add up very well. So therefore, I won't be supporting this just as a motion for information. If it means that nobody says anything, we are now having a 7% budget. That's what I'm hearing when I ask what happens if I support this motion as it's read.
CL Work is going to address some of your comments and see if that clarifies a little bit up for you.
So we have had discussions about the particulars in relation to the list of positions, and as a result of those discussions, we've gone from 15 down to 13, and those are the ones that are identified in this chart.
So in hearing further discussion, then the motion that I would be more comfortable with is we receive this for information, and that we do go, if that's is the right process to deal one way or the other with a 13, that we go into in camera at some point in this meeting and have that discussion.
CL Work, please.
Yeah, through you. Certainly there's, at a certain point, there does need to be a motion in open session in relation to those 13 positions. And so long as we are not identifying specific individuals or specific dollar amounts associated with those individuals, our intention is for that conversation to happen in open session at this point, rather than going into closed session. We feel as if we've done that enough.
If I may.
Yep.
And I appreciate further discussion. I think I get it now. You're at the point where, council, are you going to make a motion that all these things are included in the budget? Okay. And have that discussion, and has to be an open. Okay. This is, but this right now though says that they will be taken out as I read it. So it has to be clear. Okay. Well, then I will, based on what I thought I've been hearing, I would make the motion that it be, that those 13 be added in to get this budget down to, if that's the process you're looking at.
Can you clarify what added in means?
The 13 on the chart.
So,
Want to be left part of the budget you put in, because I'm the way I'm understanding it, they're not in. And from what I hear, you need to have us make a decision. Are they in or are they out? So can they be put in now as part of the vote or not?
So I just want to make sure everybody's clear with the in and the out.
I want to be clear too.
And I think there's just the looks of some faces. I think we're not quite all in the same understanding there.
And I want this to be the right process. Be clear. It's not a gotcha thing at all. Okay?
Understood. Councillor Basnet.
Through you, Mr. Warden, and just for quick clarity here, can Mike just go down the list one item at a time and say whether it's in or out? Because I'm seeing like a minus 5.77 and then a 5.77 under that without a minus. So I'm a little confused that way. I seem dumb asking this, but I need to be clear on what I'm voting on here.
So, Mike, I think that's appropriate at this stage if you would do that and just make it very clear whether that item is included in the budget or removed from the budget.
Thank you, Warden. So through yourself. So currently what is being removed from the budget? There will be no funds available to support these programs in the budget. So if they're included in this chart, they're coming out of the budget. So the YRASP program, the 50,000, that's been removed. The water source protection, the vote on that one was slightly different. It's not necessarily being removed, but it's the 400,000 was not to be funded from the levy. So that could be a reserve fund or whatnot, the reserve usage to do that, but it doesn't speak necessarily. I think we'd have to get into some more specifics in terms of that program itself. The economic development SLED program, the 90,000, that has been removed. The consulting for County Road 83, the intersection review, 60,000, that has been removed. The next two are specific to the roundabout. One is the deferral of the capital expense on the roundabout, and then we're adding back because that was 100% funded, adding back that funding. So that funding is now being set aside. So it's nil impact. So these two are nil impact. So expenses gone, but same with the funding. And that's parked as for future. And then we have the Huron-Lee parking lot expansion, 214, that is removed from the budget. So that's where we get down to the budget right now is 7.25%. That's where we are right now. And I'm not actually sharing my screen, which is problematic. And I did not realize that. I was looking at it, but I didn't realize it wasn't on the screen. So we're at 7.25% levy and 5.56% tax rate. So if council were to vote on removing from the budget the 13 positions, that would be 1.5 million. The levy impact would be increase year over year would be 4.55%, and the tax rate increase would be 2.86%. So that's currently where we stand. So everything above outstanding is being technically removed from the budget. And outstanding is discussion on the positions.
All right. So thank you, Michael. And I think that was helpful for many. Past Warden Ginn, please.
Yeah, I have two questions or two concerns, but just clarification first on the water source protection or clean water project. What we received for information said that we had a $600,000 surplus in 2025. That was the previous, the motion we just saw. So are there an additional $500,000 in the budget for 2026? Or is that just 600,000 available for 2026?
Through yourself. So previously, before the motion where the 400 was not to be funded from levy, we were raising 400,000 in addition to that 600. So that 600 was just sitting in our reserves. We're drawing it down 100,000 a year just to supplement. Actually, let me correct myself there. We had 500,000 for levy, for expenditures within the water source, 400 from levy, 100 from from reserves. So that 600,000 was going to be used for that $100,000 draw in 2026. And that's where we were going to be phasing that surplus out $100,000 a year to support $500,000 in water source. Based on the motion that we had at our last session, we removed 400 from the levy, so it reduces the budget amount, but we didn't identify where that funding was to come from. So if there would be $400,000 available in the Water Source Protection Reserve, which would leave us with a balance of $200,000 for future use in some capacity. So if we're not going to be funding the 400 from the levy, my recommendation would be to fund it from the estimated surplus of 600,000 as at the end of 25.
Okay, thank you for that. And when we started the budget process and we went around the council chambers, we all, I think we're kind of in that 4% tax rate increase, 4, maybe 5, somewhere in there. So right now we're at 5.56. So we need to find the dollars to get that down to 4%. And those 1.5%, we're looking at about 750,000, somewhere in that ballpark.
That'd be correct. It's 554 per 1%, add 250 on that. So yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want a motion at this point in time, but I think some of the dollars from the roads budget that can be funded by provincial dollars, that we should do that this year and take that off our levy to the point of about the 750,000, which would get us down to the 4%, which, I think we all agreed to when we started the budget process. So that's what I would look for, take those dollars. I know it could cause problems, and I respect that Treasurer for suggesting that we should carry forward dollars for future funding, but I think the longer you leave dollars in people's pockets, the better. If there's got to be a big tax increase, is it this year or is it next year or the year after that? Things can change, and we know is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's going to be tough budget years for another 4 or 5 years. But I think, in my opinion, that's the prudent thing to do, was to remove $750,000 from those roads projects that were identified in a previous motion. I hope it's clear and people can understand my thinking.
Michael, please.
Through yourself, I'll just highlight, I've actually did the math on that, so it'd be 866,000. So if whatever that final adjustment would be, 866,000 would bring you to a 4% tax rate increase, and that would be 5.69% on the levy. So that would be the number we would be looking at for Councillor Ginn's comments, 866.
Councillor Noel, I think your hand has been up and your screen is bouncing around a bit, but I do see you right now. So go ahead for your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead, Leah.
Excellent. Thank you. I would just like to say that I support Past Warden Ginn in what he is saying about how we can get to 4% without this proposal on the table to cut 13 non-union staff positions. And I understand I have to be careful about how we talk about this in this session. So I'm going to try to talk about it in a way that is very general, but gets my point across. So the savings that we see are clearly significant if we remove those positions. But, there is no world in which we see those savings in this budget year. And I say that because by necessity, there's going to be significant financial costs that we incur in order to facilitate them, right? We understand there's statutory notice. We understand there's common law notice. There's ongoing pension and benefits costs. There are potential lawyers' fees to advise on dismissals and review notice provisions. We've got the worst case scenario where we would have legal fees to deal with negotiating or litigating settlements or court cases, and where does that money come from? It doesn't matter if it comes from the tax levy or from our reserves. Even if it's from our reserves, you don't see it on the budget line by line right now, but those are massive sunk costs. And I'm not an accountant. Based on my rough calculations from the numbers, and I can be corrected on this, we need to get to year 2 or year 3 from now to see actual dollar figure savings from these proposed cuts. And my concern is what happens in the meanwhile, because there are always unintended consequences for every decision we make. I mean, in my career, my job has been to pretend that anything is a chessboard and I have to look 10 moves away from where I am sitting right now so that I try to make sure I'm not putting us in a position that is unsatisfactory. And I think that right now we don't even know what we don't know. So how many programs, events, and services will our community lose? And not just ones that we provide, but potentially our community partners as well, their programs, services, and events that support people in our community. I think that our treasurer just identified that it might be that we have to hire contract jobs or consultants to replace some of our in-house capacity. So those savings, therefore, are either reduced or they're just plain gone. A big concern for me is what happens to our staff morale. Are we going to be able to keep the best people in our organization if we go down this road? Are we going to be able to attract new people? What does our productivity look like? Like, we literally just heard Bruce Power talking about the importance of corporate culture. You know, what happens to that? And Mr. Skoniak called us incredibly progressive with a strong future vision. Like, do we keep that brand or do we lose it if we go down this road? And I absolutely understand that these are difficult times and financially we have to make prudent decisions. But I also understand that our community matters and our staff matter. And so I think that there is an alternative available to us if we're willing to be slow and steady. Because I guess, you know, like I said, cutting these positions today doesn't benefit the bottom line today. It could benefit the bottom line 2 to 3 years from now. And that is a someday in the future financial reward. And so this is the point I want to make. I think we can get those same sort of significant operational cost savings anyway if we pursue our very successful attrition management plan. I think that there are a number of positions that can likely be managed in short order under that plan if we ask our CAO to aggressively pursue it. I think we can start to see immediate savings this year without sunk costs, the ones I just identified. And I think that gives our staff the time and the space to make thoughtful changes, and they can mitigate anticipated problems and adapt for changes that we need to make in order to maintain, you know, the level of service that our community demands and deserves for programs, events, and services. And I think that if we do that in the same 2 to 3 years, we could likely get to the same or a very similar financial place. So I think that's the better path. That's the path I would like to take. You know, we've all heard the adage of the tortoise and the hare, and slow and steady wins the race. And there's a reason for that, because slow and steady works. And so those are my comments for my my colleagues to consider right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Noel. Any other comments? Past Warden McClellan, please.
Mr. Warden, it's been an exceptional budget year, and I'm happy to say I've seen council more engaged in the budget process than I have ever seen in the 25 years that I've been here. And it's because staff have laid it on the line that you've got operational expenses that you just can't maintain at the budget levels that you want them to be at. And historically, it's always been, let's cut out capital projects. That's how we get by. We kick things down the road. And if you walk away from the operational cuts that you've talked about doing. I guarantee you're going to have those exact same discussions next year. So although the savings at the end of the day, by the time people have been removed from positions and you pay the costs of removing those people, you've just extended that a year later down the road to when you're going to have it. If you want to just say the heck with it, I'm going to negate all of the discussions that we've had for the last couple of months and let's just take it out of capital, then I guess you've achieved the goal that you wanted to, but you didn't fix any of the problem. None of it. And next year, you're going to have staff here with the exact same comments. At some point, you've got to make some cuts. And I'm sorry, but operational is the best spot to actually make it, because those are costs that you're going to have time and time again. And do you want to stop fixing your roads, your bridges, and other things like that, which are the core services that the public expect from us? Some of these other positions are services that the public aren't expecting, don't necessarily see a direct benefit of those services, but they do like seeing their roads plowed and good pavement on them without potholes. I think you need to stick to your guns. You've had some really hard discussions, and it's not a joy to have to remove people off of your workforce. But we do got to stick with our core responsibilities if you want over the next few years to try and keep your budgets in that 4 or 5% range. You need to do it.
Councillor Heffer, please.
Thank you, Warden. After our last meeting is mentioned on the news a number of times, Mr. Blumhagen, our treasurer, making a statement at the end of it. On the radio station, it says, could you phone in if you want more cuts or leave it as is the county's budget? 74% asked for more cuts. So I'm representing the county. You know where I stand with what we should be doing. Thank you.
Councillor Besnet.
Through you, Mr. Warden, 74% of what? What population, right? 74% of 50 people, 100 people, right? So that doesn't mean much to me. What means much to me is these are people's livelihoods on the line. I feel like we'll be crippling the county, removing 13 positions. And Councillor Noel did a fantastic job preparing and providing us with an option to move forward without having to worry about this. And I appreciate the fact that she took the time to come up with something like this. It probably took a lot of work to figure it out and some conversations. But here we have a way of doing something and keeping people employed and keeping the programs in place that everyone in the county enjoys in all your municipalities. So I'll say it again. I'm not supporting cutting 13 non-union staff positions.
Councillor Vanstone and then Councillor Klopp, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I have a hard time with this budget as well. It's a tough budget. There's no doubt about it. And we wouldn't have been at it this long if it wasn't a tough budget. But in realistic times, we have to make cuts that are going to better us on down the road, not down. Like we can defer programs like Mr. Finch here. He's saying he's got road problems at intersections and whatnot. If we keep moving them on down the road, they're just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And once upon a time, the county, their main job was infrastructure, roads, bridges, culverts, make it good for everybody. So I have a hard time looking at moving things down and not fixing the problem, and the problem is we've got too many outfits going on that we are non-essential to the township or to the county. So that's the way I look at it. And I think we need to make the cuts Believe me, I don't want to. But if you all look today when you drove into town, the price of gas has gone up to $1.28. It's going to go to $2 before probably the end of the month. And there are people out there that if we take in a 7 or 8% increase and they're trying to make a living off of all this stuff, it's not going to happen. They're going to be, you see people living on the side of the street. There's going to be people out there, because I know of a few of them right now that are going from paycheck to paycheck. So I think we need to make the cuts. And I know it sounds hard and cruel, but we need to make the cuts. Thank you, sir.
Councillor Klopp, please.
Thank you, and thank council for, from what I understand, I'm prepared. And then see where it goes for discussion. We've had discussion a bit, but it's time to, as the CEO said, you got to start making some decisions. So if I'm looking to the clerk, if this is proper, I would, the 2026 draft adjustment, that the outstanding, if I heard everything right, be added into the budget adjustments, which and that motion then would read that it would go down to 4.55% increase levy, or whatever well, that's what really counts to people. And we're not done the budget yet, I guess, I suppose. But anyway, is that you understanding the motion? I got a little wordy there, sorry. That the non-union staff added into the budget adjustments.
So just to be slightly clearer, just because I know we're going in and around about the in and out. So how about the Council of the County of Huron approve the staffing cuts of the 13 non-union positions in the 2026 draft budget?
That's exactly what I thought I said.
I'm sure you did.
So Councillor Klopp, you've put that forward as a motion.
As a motion, yes.
Then I'd be looking for a seconder, and that's past Warden McClellan seconding that. Councillor Klopp.
Discussion. As Councillor McClellan echoed a lot, which we all talk about. This morning brought up again, our address the issue of our nuclear plant that's in the north, and commented on we have a lot of employees. There's a lot, all 600 and some of them must live in blue water, because I know a lot of them. I said, where you work? But one of the things I asked them is, why are you here? And they said, because your taxes. Keep the taxes low as possible. So even people with good paying jobs want their taxes as low as possible. I guess I'm more worried about, and they're important too. It's been echoed here about where our food bank is getting higher. And we can argue the point, well, I don't know if it's their taxes, their property taxes, that are making someone go to pay at the end of the month their food versus taxes. But I don't think we can sit and debate. I think we won't debate the fact that every time we increase taking money out of people's pockets, and remember, it's not done to do with their income. It's based on assessment, that we are taking money that they might spend locally. The fact is, don't blame me, don't look at me. The treasurer, has been pointed out, has been sounding the alarm. And the treasurer works with many people. Talk about a situation. We talk about Toronto and Ottawa. It's a bigger thing, and it's over there they should remanage their money. But it's still people. Believe me, it's still people you see. The light at the end of the tunnel, right now, that light at the end of the tunnel, I'm afraid, is a financial drain, has been pointed out. And for us to just take the money out of the budget of the road, you've heard the arguments. Yes, it's tough. I hear it. Yes, it's going to take a couple of years, but the reality of it is 30 to 40% tax rate increase at the county is not good management. And we're unfortunately in that position. We have to make some decisions. I stand by the discussion. I made the motion. I leave it at that.
Councillor Bazinet, please.
I would request a recorded vote when it is time to vote, please.
Past Warden Ginn.
Yeah, I don't know where that 30 or 40% tax increase came from. I thought we were talking about 4%. I won't support those staff cuts. We know where the problem lies with the county. And when I talk about light at the end of the tunnel, we know it's down 5 years. That's where the operational costs are. This $1.5 million are not real savings. We know we're taking money out of reserves to get to that number. We know we're going to have to contract some of this work out to other people. So we're fooling ourselves if we think that's going to happen. I worry what those staff cuts are going to do to our staff. If anyone else in the lower tiers are going through hiring processes right now, it's getting more and more difficult to hire people. And we just went through interviews at Central Huron, and the number one question that people asked was about the culture of the workplace. We're killing ourselves if we do this.
So I have Past Warden McNeil and then Councillor Finch.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Warden. At the outset, we all said as councillors we wanted to get to the 4 to 6%. And this can be accomplished through Past Warden Ginn's suggestions. I believe that cutting these 13 positions will have very direct and dire consequences, very negative consequences to the programs of Huron County and our 60,000 residents. When we speak of culture, that's a backbone of any organization. And this elimination of 13 positions would cripple the culture of Huron County. So as a result, for future generations, I cannot support this. Thank you.
Councillor Finch, please.
Thank you. And through the warden, we have discussed this to death. We do not make decisions because they are easy. We make them because they are hard. But that is the definition of true leadership because of our staff consultation we've had. We have, when Councillor Ginn talks about the challenges of hiring people, we've not faced that in our lower tier. We've actually had many people apply for recent jobs. So does not seem to be the issue there. This is a tough decision. There's no doubt about it. And but as leaders, the public expects us to make those tough decisions. And sometimes they won't be popular, unfortunately. But that's why we are here. And leadership's not about the next election, it's about the next generation of people. So we have an obligation to protect the tax dollars. We have an obligation to make sure we provide core services, and other things that we do provide are nice to have. Do I want to see anyone lose a job? Absolutely not. However, the reality is, as I said, we make the decisions not because they're easy, but because they are hard. So I unfortunately will have to support the cuts.
Councillor Bazinet, please.
Just final words, and I doubt it'll make a difference, but we had two council members provide different options where we do not have to do this. And I've heard people that are going to vote in favor of that saying we do not want to cut jobs, but we're going to do it. Here we have two options to consider where we don't have to do that. So are we really being honest with ourselves in regards to, do you really want to cut jobs? Because there's two really good options here that have been provided to us by two different council members that we should really consider.
Councillor Noel and then Past Warden McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I just want to make it clear that I don't think that there is an easy decision and a hard decision. I think that they're all going to be hard decisions. And sometimes right and wrong and easy and hard, they aren't easily correlated with one another. The other thing I want to say is the option that I have sort of put forward on the table, those are operational cuts. I mean, I'm not talking about cuts to a capital project. I'm talking about a number of jobs that are coming to a point where the attrition management policy that we currently have can be aggressively pursued, where those jobs are not refilled and we see immediate operational savings, and those savings are ongoing, and we don't have costs associated with notice provisions and everything else. Like, I really, really believe that when we look at these numbers that are being presented to the public right now with this $1.5 million savings is not really a $1.5 million savings. And we can talk about it like we're doing the hard thing and the right thing by cutting 1.5 million. That's not what we're doing in this budget if we pursue this. And I can't support it either. Thank you.
Pastor Warden McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I just want to respond to Councillor Bazinet's comment. And yes, there are other options. The unfortunate part is those other options are still just taking money out of capital projects to kick it down the road. And then you won't have that money to even help with next year's budget. And you're still going to be back looking at people's jobs. If these are jobs that, as we've had through the reports, these were the ones that were not going to affect the core services of the county. And if you're going to make adjustments that are going to not affect the taxpayers' lives overall. They're not affecting their core services. I agree. There are other things. We can kick it down the road by taking money out of capital projects, but it's not going to solve our problem. And you're going to have the exact same positions on the chopping block next year for discussion, because you've already now used up any of those capital projects that you've got available. Thank you.
Councillor Vanstone, please.
Yeah, just a point of clarity. Does this have to be a 2/3 vote? I guess that would be asked to.
Go ahead, Megan.
So just before I get there, point of clarification, this is absolutely going to have an impact on the residents of Huron County. We have never given that impression. However, these are in non-core service areas. So just wanted to provide that clarity to all of County Council. Second thing that I would say is it would require a 2/3 majority if you were looking to change the contents of the list. However, fundamentally, if this is about yes or no in relation to the 13 positions, that does not require a 2/3 majority.
Okay. I'm not going to rush the question. I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. So, and I'm just taking my time to look. I'm looking each of you in the eye, if you let me see your eyes. And I want to make sure that everybody that wants to speak has an opportunity to speak. This is a hard motion to deal with, and I want everybody to have that opportunity. Councillor Harding, please.
This is a very tough decision for me, and there's a lot of councillors came on when I did, and we had a lot of easy decisions in the past budgets that we were involved in. And I'm not going to point fingers at what's right or wrong, but I do know that cutting these 4 positions isn't really what any of us want. But if it's getting back to the basics of a Huron County Council and what we can live with and what we can't live with, why I think we have to think pretty seriously. But it's tough.
Councillor Ginn, was your hand up a moment ago?
I just have to point out that we have to take money out of reserves to get to that number. Why don't we just take the money out of the reserves and do the road projects then? You know, it's, I think you're going to be 3 or 4 years down the road before you see any savings from these tax cuts. We don't know what potential buyouts are going to be. We don't know how much we're going to have to hire in consultant fees to do some of the work that's going to need to be done. I think that $1.5 million is it's not real dollars. And I think there's better ways to approach it. Thank you.
Councillor Finch and then Councillor Anderson.
Thank you to the warden. Like I said, this is not an easy decision for anyone, of course, but we have to start somewhere. And the longest journey, as we know, it starts with the first footstep. If we don't do the cuts now, next year, the new council is going to be facing operational costs, capital costs, et cetera. And as Mr. Blumhagen has pointed out, this is not going to get any easier. So we do have a responsibility to the taxpayers. As much as we don't want to cut jobs, no one ever does. But the reality is what leadership is all about, true leadership, is what we're doing. We've listened to our staff. We've seen the reports. We've seen the numbers. Do we want to be known as the council that couldn't make a decision when the decision, unfortunately, is in front of us that we asked for? That's the irony. We asked for staff recommendations as a council, and it got to this point. So now it's decision time. Like I said, leadership's not about the next election. Leadership is about the next generation of people, the next council, the next population, the new people moving to the community. That's what we have to remember. So as much as we don't want to make these cuts, the information's in front of us.
Councillor Anderson, please.
Thank you, Warden. Well, I'm on the same page as Councillor Noel. I think a lot of accomplishment could be achieved if we use our attrition management. And I don't like to see cuts either, but I think that with the attrition management, we would be better off as a county.
Councillor Klopp, please.
I thank you and appreciate one on the comment, a very important point there about attrition. We saw the numbers in camera, and those are unfortunately too slow. I've thought about this a lot of times. Councillor Doug beside me, a lot of times we voted no for a lot of additional things, and we look like, oh, come on, it's about the future and all this stuff. But some of us have grown up on farms where the income, all of a sudden, you can be as good as operator as you want. If the prices aren't there enough and you have the banker tell you got to make decisions on operating and capital, maybe it comes a lot closer to myself than others that can, it just gets a pay increase or whatever. But the reality of it is those numbers just weren't fast enough. And so I appreciate what was said, but anyway, keep that in mind.
Past Warden McNeil, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. And for the last time, thank you very much for that, Mr. Warden. And I firmly believe Councillor Well did a lot of research on this. And I think there are other ways to accomplish what we want to rather than gutting Huron County by 13 positions. Attrition, other options, I think would be much more prudent than 13 positions that affects programs that the residents of Huron County want. Thank you.
I am not seeing any other hands, so I'm going to ask Clerk Cronin to read the motion that we are going to be voting on. Please, Clerk.
Through you, Warden. Moved by Councillor Klopp and seconded by Councillor McClellan that the Council of the County of Huron approves the staffing cuts of the 13 non-union positions in the 2026 draft budget. As I say your name randomly, say yes if you're in agreement, no if you are not in agreement of this motion. Councillor Noel.
No.
Councillor McNeil.
No.
Councillor McClellan. Alvin.
Yes.
Councillor P. Heffer.
Yes.
Councillor Dietrich.
Yes.
Councillor Harding.
Yes.
Councillor Ginn.
No.
Councillor Anderson.
No.
Warden Heffer.
Yes.
Councillor Vanstone.
Yes.
Councillor Becker.
Yes.
Councillor Klopp,
Yes.
Councillor Bazinet,
No.
Councillor Finch,
Yes.
Councillor McClellan.
Yes.
The motion carries 10-5.
So what I need now is a motion to receive the report that Michael had presented to us. And that's Councillor Finch, Councillor Vanstone. Those in favor? That is carried. Yes.
If I could just respond to a comment, I had no intentions of blaming staff for coming up with the list of names that we did. It was a request of County Council for them to come back with something. My comment was just the fact that it was meant to be, that we are not affecting the core services of the county. But I do understand that it wasn't an easy decision for staff to provide the report either, but it was requested by council. Thank you.
So what would be required now would be a motion to bring forward a draft budget with, and Michael, I'm going to rely on you to give us that percentage that we could put into that motion.
Through yourself, Warden. So we'd be looking at 1 second. I'll just share my screen. Levy increase of 4.55%.
4.55%. So is there someone willing to put forward a motion to bring forward a draft budget with 4.55%? Councillor Heffer, Councillor Finch, Past Warden McClellan.
I was wondering if we could take one other adjustment, Mr. Warden, in the, and I call it a slush fund reserve, whatever you want to call it, the 650,000 that's there. If we could use, it would be about 0.5% that we're looking for. If we were to take that 0.5% out, then there would still be 400,000 left in there for the debate of whether that program is going to carry on for one more year or not. But that would get the budget down to 4% even. Is that acceptable to the rest of council?
So we have a motion on the floor. I don't want to get this really complicated. So
Can you withdraw the motion and consider it after this discussion? Vote on it.
okay, the clerk is advising me in my ear and I don't hear well out of that ear. So we have a motion on the floor. We can address, I'll let the clerk say it.
So we currently have a motion on the floor to present the draft 2026 budget at the next meeting at the 4.55% levy increase. What you're proposing is outside of that motion. So you have a couple of options here. You can either request the mover and seconder withdraw this and you can have your discussion, or you can vote on this and we can consider yours, which won't come back at a 4.55% then. It's entirely up to you. This is completely changing the intent of the original motion. So you're muddling it up a little bit here.
So Past Warden McClellan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. And sorry I didn't get my hand up fast enough to make this before the motion was made. And maybe council's not interested in getting it to that 4%. If the mover and the seconder were willing to allow this discussion to happen first, if they could withdraw and we could have the discussion and then just carry on without muddying the waters.
Seconder is okay. Mover is okay.
Yes. Okay. And for the record, yes, I am as well.
That's anytime.
And Past Warden McClellan.
Mr. Warden, I'd like to request that we pass a budget at 4% for the County of Huron, and that we use the difference between the 400,000 that normally would go to the water protection program and the extra monies above that that are still in that reserve account to bring the budget down to that 4% level. And then council can still have their discussion of what they want to do with the 400,000 after the fact. So that would make our budget 4%.
You are putting that forward as a motion.
Yeah, I think Mike might have a comment on that in case I got my math wrong.
Go ahead, Michael, please.
Yeah, through yourself, Warden. So just for understanding, the way the water source is included in the budget, it's 500 in expenditures, 400 from levy with 100 from reserves. So that 100 from reserves, if we were to pursue this program in 26, that would reduce the 600 down to 500. So then there wouldn't be as much surplus available for usage in this context, unless you were to look at 400,000 in expenditures for the water source. Right now it's 500 with 100 from reserves. So we just have to keep that in mind when we're looking at it. It might just require some, a few additional details. But if we were to look at just using that 200, that's only 0.36%. So that would bring it down to 4.19%. So there would still be additional reserve usage that would be required. So maybe the motion is just take from reserves down to the 4%, and whatever reserve makes sense or is available. And I could bring a report back on that. But so it could be a combination of reserves to get it down to the 4%.
Past Warden McClellan.
I'm more than happy to have my motion state 4.19% and still have the 400,000 available for council's discussion down the road.
All right. So that motion has been put forward. Is there a seconder for that motion? No. Okay. Councillor Van Stone did second that motion. Past Warden again, please.
We're talking levy here, right? Not tax rate. So I thought the discussions when we started was a tax rate increase of 4%. The tax rate increase right now, what people are going to see their taxes go up by is 2.86 currently. The rest is new growth. So unless council has changed its mind of where they want to end up, we're well under the 4% target that we set out to be.
Councillor Klopp.
For discussion, I understand we're trying to save some money, period. I've never ever was happy with a 4%, 6% or 2% increase. I've never gone to any of my, I'll use my business. The fertilizer guy shows up and says, we were going to put it up 10%, but we're going to put it to 5%. You should be happy with that. I go, no, I wanted less than what I paid last year. This is how we should treat this as a business. I know we end up with words like, oh, well, it got to 3. We kind of pat ourselves. People on the street go, as long as you're making sure you're spending where you need to. So let's not try to confuse the situation here about 4, 5, or 3. The issue is to the motion. He was wondering if we take $100,000 and put it towards this year's budget to reduce it at whatever percent levy or whatever words you want to use. I get the point, but also at the same time, there is going to be slippage, etc. So with all due respect, I'll be voting no on the motion, because if anything that's confirmed for me, and I've been that our treasurer works darn hard and to make sure we're not accidentally losing money down somewhere, some rabbit holes. So I will respectfully not making that. I realize the taxes will be up, whatever it is, but we've got a lot of, as been pointed out, there's a lot of slippage happening that we've got to work through. So I'll be voting no.
Councillor McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. This is kind of confusing everybody a whole lot. I guess Councillor Dietrich and I were hoping at some point in time we could have a bit of a discussion as to whether or not council will let us carry on with the Huron Clean Water project for 2026. We haven't even had a meeting where we could discuss with our members if in fact we are going to carry on, what that would look like, and if we can wind it down this year. I mean, we do have the Conservation Authority issue hanging in the background, and 2026 November will be the end of this council term. So Jim and I have been talking, or Councillor Dietrich and I have been talking, that if we were to wind this down, it would be nice to wind it down by the end of the year and then be done. But there again, we would like to have a meeting with our board members, other ones, and the two conservation authorities that are involved with us, where we can put together a plan, come back to council and say, if you allow us to carry on, we need $400,000. We do know we have so much in reserve, and we're certainly not going to overspend that. But we would like to be able to put together a plan, what that would look like, rather than pulling money out of here and money out of there to get it to a certain rate. I think that's just confusing things. So that's my comments.
Thank you for those comments. Councillor Bazinet, please.
Through you, Mr. Warden, I would support that idea for sure. That's the way to go.
Past Warden McClellan.
Yeah, Mr. Warden, I wasn't trying to confuse the whole issue. I thought I was trying to get us to a point, but if council is not in favor of making an adjustment, I'll withdraw the motion so that we can go back to the original motion that was requested.
So motion withdrawn. And seconder is okay with that? Okay, all right, so motion withdrawn.
Entertain the original one.
Do we want to mover and seconder? Are you willing to put that motion back forward? So that is a motion, Clerk Cronin, that reads.
The Council of the County of Huron directs staff to present the 2026 draft budget at 4.55 levy increase at the March 18th, 2026 meeting for final consideration.
Past Warden again.
I think it's important that we put in the tax rate increase, because that's what people are going to, that's what their taxes are going up by. And I don't want people to think that their taxes are going to go up by 4% when they're going to go up by 2.86. So if we could include that number in there.
Is that an amendment that the mover and seconder are okay with? Yes, okay. Councillor Harding, please.
I wanted to agree with Councillor Ginn to publish that 2.86. That's what us layman guys are looking for.
Okay. Any other comments? And for extra clarity, the clerk will read that motion one more time.
Moved by Councillor Heffer and seconded by Councillor Finch. The Council of the County of Huron directs staff to present the 2026 draft budget with a levy increase of 4.5% and a tax rate increase of 2.86% at the March 18th, 2026 meeting for final consideration.
Those in favor of this motion? That motion is carried. So we do want to tidy up some of the discussion on the Clean Water Project. So Councillor Dietrich, Councillor McClellan, the clerk had been kind of scribing, putting some thoughts together as you've been sharing them. I'm going to have her read that and see if that captures what you were intending when you were discussing.
Microphone, please.
Seems to me a long time ago, we agreed that they had this money in reserves and we wanted them to wind the program down. Most everybody was in favor of the program. Now we're still arguing about
Councillor Harding, I think if we could get the motion out, it may set you at ease as to give a bit of a plan
I
and
hope
direction of
so.
how to get there. Clerk Cronin, please.
I've put this in two, but I might be wrong on this, and I'm okay if I'm wrong. Okay, the Council of the County of Huron approve the use of the Clean Water Project reserves for the approved 2026 applications and previously committed projects, and further that the Council of the County of Huron requests the Clean Water Project Committee present recommendations on finishing this program by the end of 2026. Am I close?
Councillor Dietrich, please.
Thank you. Yes, that motion sounds very good. I would move it.
So moved by Councillor Dietrich, seconded by Councillor Harding. Councillor Ginn, please.
I just asked for a recorded vote. I think this is a very popular project with a lot of farmers across the countryside, and I think you need to put your name behind it.
Okay. Past Warden McClellan.
Yeah, if I could get clarification, I apologize, I didn't maybe catch the whole motion. We're going to run the program till the end of 2026, so that means we're going to refund again this year, and then the projects themselves won't get completed until 2027, which means we're going to have, whether it be if we don't have the use of the Conservation Authority or our staff or whatever, are we going to have to hire people to?
Be careful where you're going with this conversation.
Is there going to be expenses into 2027? I guess is my concern if we fund this to the end of 2026, because I do believe during 2026, for the tune of 200,000 or more, we're funding from 2025. So I'm just trying to clarify how that all works out.
My take on that motion was that the committee would come back with some options of how to wind it down in 2026. I believe that was clear in the motion, and nods from the mover and seconder. Okay. Councillor Noel, please. You're muted, Leah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. Sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button to activate my audio. I don't know if this is a possibility or not with the motion. I understand the motion to be we are doing this and we are doing that. Can we break that into two motions? Because I can support half of the motion. I can't support the other half of the motion. My understanding was that we had agreed that rather than take money from taxation this year to fund the program, that we would take that money from reserves to fund the program. And I'm okay with that. With respect to terminating the program, ending the program, I'm not in favor of that. So I don't know if that's a possibility. I thought I would ask the question. Thank you.
So the motion on the floor, I will go to mover and seconder if you wanted to adjust that or you want the motion to stand. Amending or
So amending or changing that motion, the intent of what Councillor Noel is saying is completely changing the intent of that motion. And it is on the floor right now. And that was the intent of the mover and the seconder. So if there is a desire to split that and deal with that in two different ways, we can certainly vote this down, withdraw this motion, whatever it is that a councillor is interested in doing, and then separating it, or you're voting on it right now. Okay.
Councillor Dietrich.
Thank you. I would like to see the motion stand as is.
Okay. And Councillor Harding. So with that, the motion, and again, for clarity, we will read it one more time.
My scribbles are pretty great, so I hope it sounds the same. The Council of the County of Huron approved the use of the Clean Water Project reserves for approved 2026 applications and previously committed projects. And further, that the Council of the County of Huron requests the Clean Water Project Committee present recommendations on finishing this program by the end of 2026. I'm going to call your name, yes or no. Yes in your favor of this motion, no if you're not.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
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 Councillor Noel?
No.
Yes.
No.
The motion carries 12-3.
So I am going to just deal with correspondence and then we're going to take a comfort break. So is there anything in correspondence that anybody wanted to speak to? Seeing none, then I'd be looking for a motion to receive the correspondence, and that is Councillor Klopp, Councillor Anderson seconding that. Those in favor? That is carried. We will take 10 minutes for a comfort break. So welcome back. We are now at the long-term extension services agreement, and Dana is available for questions if council has questions on that agreement. And if not, then I'd be looking for motion to receive the report and for authorization to execute the agreement. That's Councillor Finch, seconded by Councillor Becker. Those in favor? That is carried. We do have a close to the public session, and I would look for a motion to go into closed at this time. So Councillor Heffer, seconded by Past Warden Ginn. Those in favor? That is carried. Okay, so we need to rise from closed. Do I have a motion to do that? That's Councillor Heffer, Councillor Goderich. Those in favor? That is carried. And a rise and report by CAO Wark.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Warden, the purpose of going into closed session today was for council to receive information on labor relations or employee negotiations, ONA, Homes for the Aged.
Thank you, Megan. And what we will need now is a motion that the Council of the County of Huron approve the execution of the Ontario Nurses Association contract as presented in closed session. Councillor Finch, seconded by Councillor Anderson. Those in favor? That is
Goodness.
If I could move on to our bylaws, I would ask that I get a mover and a seconder for first, second, third, and final reading of our bylaws listed. And that's Councillor McClellan, seconded by Councillor McClellan. Those in favor? That is carried. Upcoming meetings, make yourself aware of where you need to be and when you need to be there. Our confirmatory bylaw, who would like to confirm our actions this morning? Councillor Harding. Councillor Becker, those in favor? That is carried. And could I have a motion to adjourn our meeting? Councillor Goderich, Councillor Heffer would second that. Those in favor? Thank you. We are adjourned.